The first to go off was the internet. Then the mobile phone fell silent. And then the landline phones. It was the intervening night of 4 and 5 August. The clock had moved a few minutes past the midnight. Kashmir was nearing a new zero hour about which absolutely no one had an idea what it could be about. Though there were clear signs that something extraordinary and massive was about to happen. Tension had mounted for the past week as strange orders got leaked on social media, and there appeared a pattern to these orders. The Amarnath Yatra, a Hindu pilgrimage to a cave shrine deep in the Himalayas, was cancelled. The petrol stations were asked to stock supplies. Thousands of paramilitary forces were flown in. The tourists were called to leave immediately. Kashmir was nervous. Few moments after the communication blackout was imposed on the intervening night of 4 and 5 August, the New Delhi-based news channels were the only source of information.
Now, internet services have also been down in parts of Jammu and Kashmir. Certain services have been completely unavailable. Now, sources have told NDTV that the process has been initiated to put political leaders and former chief ministers Omar Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti under house arrest.
When India and Pakistan were formed as separate nations in August 1947, the Princedom of Jammu and Kashmir had a standstill agreement with both the newly carved states. Months later, the situation changed in Kashmir, and the Hindu Dogra king signed a conditional accession with the Union of India. Article 370 of the Indian Constitution guaranteed special status to Jammu and Kashmir, a region located in the northern part of Indian subcontinent. The article allowed the state a certain amount of autonomy, its own constitution, a separate flag, and freedom to make laws. Foreign affairs, defense, and communications remained the preserve of the central government. Jammu and Kashmir could make its own rules relating to permanent residency, ownership of property, and job reservation. It could also bar Indians from purchasing property or settling permanently in Kashmir. Kashmir woke up on the morning of 5 August to an unprecedented curfew. All roads were sealed, mobile and landline phones were suspended, and the internet was shut. For the world, Kashmir had become an information black hole. Inside the Indian Parliament, Home Minister Amit Shah was about to make the announcement, but the leader of the opposition, Ghulam Nabi Azad, tried to make an intervention.
Some parts of the Jammu Kashmir वो भी कर्फ्यू के अंदर हैं, कश्मीर कर्फ्यू के अंदर हैं, तीन चीफ मिनिस्टर्स और दूसरी पार्टियों के लीडर्स सभी हाउस अरेस्ट थे और पूरे स्टेट में एक ऐसा वातावरण जैसे वार सिचुएशन है.
His voice got drowned as Amit Shah began to speak.
मैं संकल्प प्रस्तुत करता हूं कि ये सदन अनुच्छेद 370(3) के अंतर्गत भारत के राष्ट्रपति द्वारा जारी की जाने वाली निम्नलिखित अधिसूचनाओं की सिफारिश करता है. संविधान के अनुच्छेद 370(3) के अंतर्गत भारत के संविधान के अनुच्छेद 370 के खंड 1 के साथ पठित अनुच्छेद 370 के खंड 3 द्वारा प्रदत्त शक्तियों का प्रयोग करते हुए राष्ट्रपति संसद की सिफारिश पर यह घोषणा करते हैं कि यह दिनांक जिस दिन भारत के राष्ट्रपति द्वारा इस घोषणा पर हस्ताक्षर किए जाएंगे और इसे सरकारी गैजेट में प्रकाशित किया जाएगा, उस दिन से अनुच्छेद 370 के सभी खंड लागू नहीं होंगे सिवाय खंड 1 के नामक तदनुसार पढ़ा जाएगा.
P. Chidambaram, a senior leader in the opposition Congress party, described the decision as a catastrophic step. and warned in Parliament that it could have serious consequences.
Momentarily, you think you have scored a victory. The drum beats that you will hear on the streets will certainly encourage you to believe that you have scored a signal victory, or as one of the honourable members said, you have corrected, quote unquote, a so-called injustice of history. You are wrong, and history will prove you to be wrong, and future generations will realize what a grave mistake this House is making today. What you're doing is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. Repealing Article 35A is wrong. Amending the Constitution, invoking Article 370 is wrong. Doing away with Article 370 is wrong. But do all those wrongs. Do all those wrongs. I'm willing to, who am I? I'm willing to tolerate all those wrongs. But for heaven's sake, don't dismember Jammu and Kashmir. Don't do that cardinal sin. Don't commit that monumental blunder.
August seemed like a long day in Kashmir. People had nothing to do. The political leadership across the entire spectrum of ideological divide was under detention. The detention of some political leaders was more shocking than that of others, like Farooq Abdullah, Umar Abdullah, Mehbooba Mufti, and others who had their loyalties towards the Indian state. These politicians had served as the chief ministers and headed the security infrastructures as head of the unified command. Others had served as ministers and lawmakers. None of it made any difference. On the roads of Kashmir, police and paramilitaries manned roadblocks and checkpoints every few meters. It was an unprecedented day and an unprecedented siege. It was also the beginning of a months-long shutdown. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months, and Kashmir would remain the same, eerie and ghostly. The events of 5 August 2019 created an unprecedented political vacuum in Kashmir. The political leaders remained under detention for nearly a year, and when they were released, they carried with them a sense of mistrust and betrayal. Some accepted the reality as a new permanent feature, many could not and vowed to fight back through peaceful means, constitutional means, judicial means. The main unionist forces in Kashmir, National Conference headed by Abdullahs and People's Democratic Party headed by Muftis, decided to form an alliance with 5 other political parties. They called it the Gupkar Alliance.
जो हमारा मौकिफ है, जो पीडीपी का मौकिफ है, जो पीपल्स अलायंस का मौकिफ है कि बस मसले कश्मीर हल करना, 370-35 को वापस लाना, उनका एजेंडा जो होता है उसकी हमें परवाह नहीं है, पर हमारा एजेंडा यही रहे.
Gupkar Alliance's reluctance to join the political processes led to a deadlock which New Delhi had not anticipated. In the absence of a powerful, influential alternative, New Delhi did another surprise. It called all political parties for a meeting, a few weeks short of 5 August 2019's second anniversary.
वज़ीर-ए-आज़म की तरफ से दावतनामा आया है और हम उस दावतनामे में जाने वाले हैं. वहाँ पे हमें उम्मीद है कि हम अपने जो मौक़िफ़ है उसको वहाँ पे वज़ीर-ए-आज़म साहब और होम मिनिस्टर साहब के सामने रखें.
Some of those who were called to the meeting, like Abdullahs and Muftis, had been derided by New Delhi and almost trashed into dustbins of history. But when it comes to Kashmir, nothing is permanent.